Hi, everyone, and welcome to part 4 of our developmental trauma series. I'm Frances Echeverria. I'm a mental health consultant with the Early Childhood Council of the San Luis Valley. And I'll let my two coworkers introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Deb Benali, and I am also a mental health consultant for the Early Childhood Council in the Valley. It's good to be back.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Trujillo, and I am an early childhood mental health reflective coach on the mental health team at the council as well.
So this part 4, if you haven't seen the first 3 parts, I highly encourage you to go to our YouTube page and watch those first. And today we're going to be talking about brain development. So learn about brain development and then teach me about my brain. So when I understand the way my brain has developed, then our conversations become about my brain and not about me. So starting from a very young age, we can teach kids what is going on in their brain, and teach them about the development of their brain and why, some behaviors might occur because of their brain development, right? The kiddos, their brain is still developing and looks very different than an adult's brain. So we as adults need to understand what is going on in that development and then help teach them in a kid-friendly way. So children with developmental trauma have brains that are not often the same as children without developmental trauma. So we as adults also need to be aware of this, that trauma really has an impact on the developing brain. And so the kids who may have experienced trauma their brain is going to look different than the kiddos who maybe have not experienced trauma. And so being aware of what these differences might look like in a kid is really important. And again, it goes back to understanding the brain to make that distinction between this is happening because your brain is still developing in these different ways. And it does not have to do with the intrinsic nature of that specific kid. So the amygdala. The amygdala is our survival brain, and it is the fight, flight, or freeze response. So it is an automatic response that happens in a split second, without our control, and it puts us into that fight, flight, or freeze response, which is also our stress response. So kiddos who have experienced developmental trauma may have an overactive amygdala, meaning that they are in that stress response much more than kiddos who maybe have not experienced trauma. So that means that the stress hormone is going throughout their body more, which in everyday life, if you're not in a stressful or life-threatening situation, having that stress hormone going throughout your body can be very detrimental to, your physical health and just the way that you respond to things. And it is often linked to emotions of fear and anger.
We need to help children calm their amygdala and increase prefrontal cortex activity. The amygdala is linked to fear and anger. And, as Frances was talking about, kids with trauma, their amygdala is overactive all the time. They're usually coming to you in one of those stages already: fear, fight, or flight, or freeze, really. So Here's strategies with coping with an amygdala hijack. And that's what we kind of call it. The amygdala is taken over. There's no ability for you to reason with someone whose amygdala is taken over, even as an adult. It's like their brain's been hijacked by the amygdala. So here's what we're going to try and do. Stop and breathe. Stop what you are doing. Breathe deeply with intention and purpose. This is you as the caretaker, the teacher. You're going to stop and take a breath. You're going to neutralize the situation because this is not a personal attack on you. This is a hijacked amygdala. Just keep reframing that. Smile. Humor's a great tool to help right now. So if you can think of a joke that might diffuse the situation, do it. Remember the 6-second rule. It takes chemicals that are released during an amygdala hijacking 6 seconds to dissipate or go away in the body. So remember, it's going to take that person a little time, that child a little time to calm down. Count your blessings. It's hard to be in two emotional states at the same time. So bring in some gratitude counters. Start to count with your hands some gratitude during an amygdala hijack. I'm grateful for having you in my class. I'm grateful for, and get, if you can, the student or the child to engage with you. And then reflect. Recognize what your triggers are so you can help to avoid them in the future when there's an amygdala hijacking in the classroom. Increase the child's hippocampal by encouraging eating healthy and getting exercise. Model those kinds of behaviors for them.
Sorry,
Kat.
I didn't keep track. It's okay.
I didn't either. When you teach them about their brains, then you help them to understand that their challenges are not their fault. It's clearly how their brain works. And when you have a child that understands how their brain works, they are going to be able to make some pretty awesome changes. When you show them that their brains have plasticity, that means their brains are growing and has the ability to move and change and make new pathways for them, you will give them hope. Because they struggle with their behaviors just like you do.
Children with developmental trauma must participate in their own healing. So it's not something that can be forced. And I think the relationship between you and the child needs to be very strong, and they need to feel that they are safe in their environment so that they can work on healing. They are better participants when they understand why they are the way they are and how they can improve. So Brainwise is a good book for a reference to look at that. And it is a brain book for parents and educators. So just an additional resource for everyone. And as always, our reference page for Teachers Guided Trauma, 20 things kids with trauma wish their teachers knew. So again, we're working through the chapters of this book. And as always, our contact information is here for any questions, comments, concerns. If you feel like you need additional resources and you do have a child dealing with trauma, or you yourself are dealing with trauma, please reach out to us.
And I would just like to emphasize that having an overactive amygdala means that situations that to us as adults or kiddos who have not experienced trauma, the may not seem, life-threatening or stressful, but small situations can set off the amygdala in those kiddos that already have the overactive amygdala. So it can be, like turning off a light, something that may seem simple, but that can activate their stress hormones. And so that is, what is going on in the brain. So hopefully we gave you some strategies and also just knowledge for brain development in general that you can, use with the kiddos and help to teach the kiddos that, this is happening in their brain. But as Deb was saying, we can help change that and we can help adjust that, through healthy eating, exercise, breathing, gratitude, all these strategies. So yes, if you have any questions or need support, please reach out to us.
Just keep things in mind and reframe their behavior. Look at it from a whole different lens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you
Thank you,
next
everyone. Bye.
Bye.